Well, it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce Secundino Hernández here. And just to give you a kind of order of events, I'll introduce him briefly, more formally, and then we will have a more casual conversation in which we can flip through some of the PowerPoint images of some of his works, so you can have a better sense of how to contextualize the painting upstairs with his work more broadly. A native of the Spanish capital, Madrid, Secundino Hernández developed his artistic identity in a city known for its world-class collections of Spanish art, including El Greco, Velázquez, and Goya. And his work, I think, betrays a certain sensitivity to those old masters. But it's also Spain's modern artists like Picasso, Miró, Saura, Tapies, and Barceló, just to name a few, that bolster Secundino's gestural lines, fitful textures, and studied palette. But much like these great artists, I get the sense that Secundino is aware of his participation in a long tradition that in one way or another sets about challenging presumed dichotomies. And I think we'll see these dichotomies a lot when we kind of sink our teeth into his work. Dichotomies like spontaneity and deliberation, figuration and abstraction, positive and negative, darkness and light. It is this inherent tension in contradiction that lay, for me, at the heart of his work. And in this way, he confronts, balances the weight of the past with demands of the present in new, innovative, and I think always evolving ways. Every time I go to the man's studio, he's doing something new, right? Although grounded in Madrid, Secundino Hernández's work has been exhibited worldwide, and we'll see images of a lot of these exhibitions in the presentation, across continental Europe, from London to Helsinki, São Paulo to Shanghai. Now it's in Dallas, I'm very happy to say. His monumental 2019 canvas is on display in our Virginia Meadows galleries until April 26th. This untitled painting, which hopefully I can bring up. As yet untitled. We've been discussing potential titles all week, right? So fingers crossed. This untitled painting represents a recent development in Secundino's technique, which combines the cutting and re-sewing of the support with the application and removal of paint, thus inviting the viewer to bear witness to the process of making and unmaking. So this is really, for me, what's so wonderful, is we witness simultaneously making and unmaking. Confronted with the controlled chaos of creative method, one observes the structure imposed by these linear seams, while intermittently visible patches of raw, stained canvas defy that order. The resulting nuances of color, depth, and texture, and the synthesis of additive and subtractive processes are characteristic of Secundino's work. And I'll just add as a note, because again, I'm a curator and trained as an art historian. I'm not used to working on people who are still alive. But I will say he's in very good company here at the Meadows. This idea of taking things apart, sewing them back together, scraping and adding. Anyone who knows our work, our wonderful work by Fortuny on the first floor, knows that he added a section to that canvas, sewed two pieces together and painted over it. Again, also Goya, we have wonderful examples of him scraping at his supports, adding, scraping, removing. So it's very active. So Secundino, welcome to Dallas.
Thank you very much,
First
Amanda.
time here, yeah. Muy bienvenida.
Gracias.
And I wonder if we could start, maybe, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, why you became an artist? What's your story?
Well, it was something that it came to in my childhood spontaneously. It was something that even I think I didn't decide, but it came to me I was a very bad student, I must say, and then the art classes were like my favorite, and I was like always with a lot of illusion, working and working hard also. So it was the only time in my everyday life that I was concentrating doing something and not hanging around, or so it was like a very. And then they invited me to make like in the school, like to make like the poster for.
Oh.
Yeah. For this event, that one, And
so did you have art classes? When did you start in art classes? Quite young, or?
Well, meanwhile, I was studying at the school. Then I had like these extra scholar classes, and then also on weekends, and so I was like more and more having like these extra classes in piano lessons, yeah, or swimming, and then of course painting, and then I always wanted to spend most of the time in painting. So first was 1 day, then 2 days, 3 days, and at the end I was painting the whole week. So even on weekends, so I was like very much, I think at a point, almost obsessed with the yeah.
More than drawing.
Also drawing. The beginning was, I mean, was a very academical way to learn, and so we started with ink and the charcoal, with very primary ways to approach painting. So also I had at that time very good teachers. They were artists, and they were teaching because they were not success with their practice, and they had to teach like kids, and I was among them, and then but they had like a very open mind, and then they were always like trying to push us and a lot, and we were working in life models when we were 11, 12 years old.
Wow.
So yeah. So we were like very well trained in that sense. Yeah.
And then you studied art at university as well, right?
Yeah, and then I studied at the university. I was like, as I said, not so good, so it took me a while to get into the university. And then when I went to the university, it went very well, everything. So I studied in Madrid, and then I got even a grant to finish my studies in Brera, I mean in Milan, in Milano. Mm-hmm. And then I continue with in the PhD in the Spanish again university with
it was at the Complu.
At the Complutense, yeah.
So this is Spain's, I would say,
most
premier,
important,
premier university in Madrid. It's called the Complutense.
In the art history department. So then.
Oh, so you had art history too.
Yeah, but then I didn't finish. I finished the courses and so with a very good qualification and everything, but I didn't continue because honestly I still don't know if I have to write a thesis. You know, I'm still very confused about it. You know, so.
Well, you didn't write it.
Yeah, no, and also I had not much time to paint, so then I decided to quit. It was a big drama at home because my parents thought that I would become like a great
painter.
A great teacher.
Oh, right,
of the university or whatever, you know, instead of a painter, because painter nowadays to become artist in everywhere means many things. As I said this morning to you, it's like it's a challenge for life.
Yeah.
Because it's a challenge with yourself, with the galleries, with many things. So it's not only depending on you, on your beautiful art, it's also depending on the other things. So at the end, it's a big risk, but if you assume it's also fine.
Were your family supportive?
Yeah, sure, because I was like, I was already 22, 23, 24. I started to collaborate with galleries and so, and then more and more better galleries and good dealers came to my studio, and then that was.
Was that in Madrid?
That was in Madrid, and then in 2005 I got a grant again from the Spanish Minister of Culture and Foreign together to go to Rome, to the Spanish Academy. And then I spent a year there, and then that was 2005 to 6. And then in 2007 I was invited by a gallery that is still collaborating in Austria, in Vienna. And then I spent almost a year there as well. That was 2007. And in 2008 I got a prize from the Madrid community. And then with this little money I make a test. I moved to Berlin for 6 months at the beginning, but then it took me 10 years there almost. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
10 years in Berlin. Did you find the Berlin kind of art world was complemented the Madrid?
There was a hard time that people from Madrid, we had to decide what to do because it was 2007-8. It was just months before the crisis, big crisis there in everywhere.
Yeah.
But
as most of you maybe know, the economic crisis in Spain was particularly severe and began around 2008. And I think by the end of it, unemployment for people under the age of 30 was 25% or something.
Yeah.
So, and a housing crisis. Yeah.
So many people decided to move to London, and some others we decided to move to Berlin because, I mean, for me at least, I was collaborating also with my gallery in Austria, with my gallery in Madrid, who is originally from Germany, so he had some contacts and so I thought it was a good chance to confront my work with other artists, German painters mainly. So then I had the chance to know many of them and then to be more in this kind of.
Are you guys getting a little bit of an echo from him?
Yeah, I have it like.
Can you try putting it on your shirt if you don't mind? See if that does it. Put it in the middle.
It's a bit low, no?
Yeah.
Sounds.
Is that better?
It's better now? Yeah? Okay, better, sorry.
Okay, good.
Sorry. We can start again then.
It sounds different down here, so yeah. Repeat it all.
And then after Berlin, it was 2017-18, I moved back to Madrid and it's where I'm happily based with my family and working a lot. Yeah.
Shall we look at some paintings? Do you want to drive? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, I want to drive.
Go for it. Go for it. I've been driving them around all week. So.
I know. So, well, this is, let's say, we're going to start from...
We look like the sculpture, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm feeling very meta.
This is the last step, but we're going to start with a very old exhibition.
When was this?
This is 2004-5.
Oh, wow, okay. I was going to say, these don't, I don't know if I've seen them.
This was in Madrid, and it was 5, because I paint some of them in Rome. And I was painting with, like I started to reduce very much the way of doing painting with these kind of very linear strokes and few colors. And I was painting I was reflecting a lot about my references and my background and as a Spanish artist. And then, of course, I started to use Picasso and Miro and
this is what I was,
more like
these kind of figural elements.
But it was a bit ironical, more like a stereotype, and there are these figures like with these stupid poses and trying to interact with the spectator in a different way. And well, this happened later on when I discovered how to discover. Well, I was developing the idea of transfer the drawing into the canvas, and then I got like a technical solution using the tube with different pipes or different.
So, you were painting with the tube directly rather than applying to a brush.
Yeah, but all these lines, of course, are thick like this. And
so do they stick off the canvas? There's like a lot of impasto there?
No, they're very flat, but I mean the thickness and the
width.
The width. Yeah. And in these paintings, I was also working with this illusion of horizon and landscape, where everything was happening, floating there. This is quite a raised one.
And so the bottom bit, you used a brush, or?
Yeah, this is all painted on it. So the only line that I made is that you see is made by the tube and but it was a great solution, and because then I had the chance to reduce, as I said, with the first show or the first works, the painting into very basic elements, like which is the way to paint normally, like a line and fields of colors, and with these two aspects or how you say resources, or then I went on for a while. So I must say also that these lines are very much based in some of my references, which is Giacometti, the paint.
So glad we put
in
that
his
sculpture
paint.
up there.
Yeah. And it looks like a line also.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, I was very impressed when I was very young. I went to one show at Reina Sofia Museum in Madrid, and then.
This was when, yeah, you were 5, you said, right?
No, this I
probably?
was
Okay.
10 or no, like 15, 16.
50, still young. Yeah.
And with this idea of using the paint, the canvas as a like a little sketch, I started to work this way as well, like even writing the idea of the painting and to allow to the spectator to, and with their just writing the colors and the instruction how to make the painting. It was a way to interacting with the spectator, I thought.
Are we looking at raw canvas? Is that the color, or have you applied?
This raw canvas
So there's
also
a texture.
helped me to evolve this idea of roughness and very basic work, like
Right.
so. But I must say that all this work took me a long to complete, because this line that is made, these doodles that they make like this, they are very slow motion painted. So
yeah. It reminds me of Meadows a little bit, that we all think of Meadows making gestures and lines that are supposed to look automatic, but they're actually really, really studied. And you can even see on our painting upstairs, there's a grid structure. You can see it below the pigment. So it's all very, very carefully planned and much slower than the end product looks.
Yeah.
Here I'm doing this, like, should I be doing this?
But
much slower.
Yeah, but Miro had something also to me related with many of abstract expressionist American figures, like as I said, like a Clifford Steele or Modern World, that everything starts with a very, like, could be like a doodle or something, but when they transfer this to the canvas, it's slower. The process gets, because of course they are moving their fingers when they are preparing and they are
scales,
performing in a different way, in a larger scale. So that's something also that made me also reflect a lot. At that time, I was worried also very much about including the process into the canvas and how to integrate this line with the color. So I didn't know how, and then I started to, as I said, to use the canvas as a memory of the process, as a way to said like I had a honesty attack, like a honest attack, and I wanted to be.
An honesty attack.
Yeah, like
a crisis of conscience.
Being very honest, and then work with to use the canvas as a almost palette and testing colors and cleaning brushes and.
Yeah, no, I see, especially in the one on the right. There's a really big. I mean, it's casting a shadow, that kind of
it's
pink.
a big red that I probably use for other works, but and then this uncontrolled situation in the surface started to swallow the line and the and also I had the chance then to talk about in a different language, more expressionist, because I still not consider my work expressionist. You can see like a expressionist result, but it's very conscious and very planned. Even these that they look very spontaneous, they were developed in different sketches and stages. So this is the idea of a work that I was using again the colors and the line, but in a different way. I was, in this case, more thinking about combining this graphical language more and doodles with, again, more pictorial elements. So
I feel like we're getting more color here too.
Yeah. But this red and the gray on top, you see, it's a different way of painting, and then you have this burst of color down. So I was very much thinking how to combine, let's say, different noises to create some melody. So I don't know if I'm being successful or not, but it was like only a step to get into different works, and you see how the uncontrolled process is growing and is getting more and more and swallowing the whole surface, like the one on the right.
And it looks like on the one on the left, you're leaving some places of canvas bare still, right?
Yeah, because as I said,
this bit at there's a pointer on that thing if you want.
Using this line, I was working with I was using the painting also as a like a comic strip or like a frame, and just to emphasize this kind of graphical language and the use of the line, I was also like making frames into the canvas. It's also related with painting as a window and also as an illusion. And so this is again like these colors growing and using the canvas as a palette.
Yeah, I think
with the raw canvas.
I think we have some of your palette paintings coming up.
Yeah.
Which may be the painting that we started with, of course, on the screen. The painting that's upstairs is kind of a world away, I think, from these paintings, right? So I wonder, can you talk about that journey a little bit?
You mean about the one?
How do you get from here to
the one upstairs? Well, because
we're getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different way to. Because this palette, for instance, was one of the first ones that I was showing because it had also a meaning for me. These are based in El Greco paintings. This is all the 3 paintings, 13, some left here. But these 13 paintings are one work and are based in these Greco apostles, and you can see the structure of the drawing because I did in live at the museum, like studies and so on.
So El Greco, 16th century Spanish painter, painted multiple series of the 12 apostles plus Christ. And they're in multiple collections. I don't know, which ones did you see? You just told me.
I saw there's the Greco Museum.
In the El Greco Museum in Toledo. So El Greco was, of course, based in Toledo, and his house there, the house he lived and worked in, is now a museum. And they have this series of 12, and they're kind of bust length. The size looks the same, no?
Almost
the size
the same.
You picked?
Almost the same.
So what, like that maybe?
Bit bigger, yeah, like one.
My arms only go so far.
Well, like this.
Okay, yeah.
And then I use the palette.
So the palette is this second one from the
again
right.
with the raw canvas that to mix colors and to create the others. So it was like a generator. So
so that actually was your palette.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
To create the rest of the work. So to me it was finally to have an idea of, because I've been always struggling with this kind of processual painting. I never wanted to become too processual, but then ironically my work becomes more processual when I want to try to escape. So but in this case I had finally the crossover between an idea and the process, because it's you always need, as I said, you always need a process to end up with a result. So there's nothing.
Yeah. No, and I love this because one of the things that we historians love about El Greco is that in paintings where the edges are conserved, because El Greco painted a lot of things for altarpieces, and so they were in very elaborate frames. When you can see the edges, you see where he cleaned his brush on the edge of the canvas. And so I think you're kind of riffing on that a little bit as well, right?
Yeah.
This kind of revelation of artistic process in the work itself.
Yeah, well, I was like going on because it's pretty long. But
we'll watch the clock.
These are some charcoals also. I wanted to show these kind of paperworks because they were also important.
Paper.
Yeah. using different techniques, you get different results, and they still has a relation with my previous works, but it opened my possibilities.
Is this paper too?
No, this is painting.
Okay.
These are all
Yeah.
paintings.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't see the palette. Okay.
This is an exhibition in Alvar Aalto's house, made by Alvar Aalto, the Finnish architect in France. He made for this house for Louis Carré, who was the Picasso, was one after Campbell, Picasso's dealer, and we made a nice, I think, combination between my work and his Alvar Aalto design. And as I said, line was very important. It's still very important in my practice, and as you see, sometimes I don't need even the color anymore. So these are sketches again, but to feel like this. So this is like a situation in the same show that I'm very also interested sometimes to make, because it's like the first layer and then the result of the painting. This was the first time that I made the Four Seasons topic is subject. And
it's one you return to again, or the Four Seasons? I mean.
This was the first version.
Oh, okay.
I did several times.
Okay.
Yeah. You will see others, and these are. These are well also based in some figures and people kissing. The name was Kisses by Kisses. Kisses and Kisses, sorry, and it was. I had like a book with all these happy endings from actually they were American comic strips with the.
Oh yeah.
And there were all these people from the 50s and 60s, and always the last frame was like the.
So are you playing? You're playing a little bit as well with this kind of frame within a frame.
Yeah, and
actually, you give yourself a frame, but then you.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
You don't follow. You don't stick within it.
Yeah, because I want to.
Actually, I'm even noticing paint all the way at the end of the canvas there. Yeah.
Because I want to keep the feeling that the painting is like my interpretation, of course, of one subject, but also must also be strong enough to, or visually, strong enough to please when you see it, not aesthetically, but
you want it to
a
be
mixture between conceptually, but also autonomy of
that it can function on its own.
This is a second version of my Four Seasons. These are made in Meadows Museum in Shanghai. It was displayed in this super high ceiling lobby and between the columns, facing both sides. And
I wonder if we could return to the palette works. I think we have one coming up.
Yeah.
Just because I think it makes a good contrast to the painting upstairs. Great, yeah.
For instance, yeah. I have another one better. This one is very nice, huge.
La Bomba.
Yeah.
So tell us about your palette paintings.
Yeah, my palette painting started, as I said.
This is the biggest, no?
This is the biggest, yeah. It's huge. This is like 6 meters almost.
And heavy.
By 3, yeah, it's very heavy. And as I said, I was just including the process, and then it grows and it creates this kind of magma of painting, and yeah, they provide me a lot of joy and a lot of improvisation that I don't have to think too much, because normally they are laying down, so I don't see them so much. And then when I lift them up, then I maybe adjust some few colors or something, because I want to keep them. I want to keep them very natural and to let them grow spontaneously. So it's a way, I always like to say that it's a very sculptural, because you are not almost painting, you are almost modeling. So it's a memory of the process, because it's where everything that is used in the studio, I don't want to say junkyard, but could be,
the leftovers.
And then, but it's a nice junkyard anyway. So
I mean, it requires a little manipulation between the
Yeah.
junk and the
Yeah,
final
no.
product, but yeah.
But it's also a complement of the paintings that I'm peeling and remove it, like the one that we have on
Right,
top, you know.
right.
So both are, I'm using technically sculptural ideas of modeling and
Yeah.
taking away or digging or carving. You know.
When you put the paint, I'm just curious, when you put the paint on the canvas, do you model it at all in any form as it dries, or?
Yeah, I think what
You
is
have
going to be
to-
next. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not doing like spontaneously. I'm thinking
Right,
what is
right,
going to be
right.
next day or next.
Kind of making these craters, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
also, yeah. Mainly because I want to use the painting as much as I can. So,
Yeah.
so I just dig with my.
Okay.
And it's a way to modeling.
I'll just say, having seen these in person, the impasto, it's impasto on steroids, right? So the paint comes off the surface of the canvas, what, a good four
Very well,
or
yeah.
5 inches, maybe?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So I know you don't see it up there. That's what.
No,
So when you look at it from the side, actually, as well, it does feel very sculptural.
Yeah, this is one black and white I made when I made this show. That was the beginning of using these geometrical shapes. That was like 4 or 5 years ago in Madrid, but these shapes or these works I started to develop in Vienna like 10 years earlier, because in 6, 7 after Rome, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like just like composing into the canvas with pieces of tape.
Okay.
No, not in canvas, in paper. So, but I was doing like very intuitive, very automatically. I didn't know what I was doing, but I realized with the time that I was just learning how to compose into different pieces of paper. So when I got the solution and I got the idea of destroying or killing the shapes of this geometrical, informalized, the very formal language, then I went to the canvas. But it took me like 10 years later. Yeah, and my work is a little bit like this the last years. I've been always like trying to formalize what is very formal, like informalize, and the other way around. Like in the abstract paintings now that I'm washing, I'm creating like sort of islands of colors and very formal strokes. So the informalist language becomes very reduced and very graphic in a way. So
I wonder if, let's see what the time is like. We have about 5 minutes. Should we look at the series upstairs?
yeah, I made also some figures meanwhile. There's another version of the Four Seasons. This is what one saw with real works hanging in the. I brought the studio to the gallery in Stockholm.
Oh, this is a photo on
Yeah,
the wall.
I made a photo.
I'm with you now. Yeah.
And then I installed the pieces where they were originally hanging in the studio. So it's kind of optical illusion.
It is. Well, especially in a PowerPoint like this.
Yeah. That was nice because then you change the space and you change this white cube idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well,
and
it's
you
much
bring
more
your
homey.
the studio from home to Stockholm.
Right.
That was part of the show. And this is the show that I made in Frankfurt 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And as I said, it's a way I was trying to transform these very clean edges in something more organic, and the other way around with the colorful one. So you see how the color becomes more like a how do you say, reconocible, no?
Yeah, recognizable.
Recognizable, yeah.
And it looks like you're using, is this this kind of stain or primer again in the gray
Yeah,
areas?
this was the beginning of using the dye on the back. And
We'll come back to dye. There's a very, I mean, you can say, a very specific dye primer that you're using to prime the canvas, so that once you apply pigment and remove it, the stain that's left behind has a very specific character.
so this was the first time that I saw one of these works, and with the stitching and the geometrical, the shapes and so are already integrated into the surface with the stitching. So
just to explain briefly, the vertical lines that you're seeing are areas in which Secundino has cut the canvas apart into strips and then sewed it back together.
Yeah.
And then applied pigment in some cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then removed pigment, and sometimes taking it apart again, re-sewing it back together. And so it's quite literally the structure of the support is also the line that you're getting in the image, let's say.
Yeah, this is in the Helsinki Kunsthalle. We had a show 2 years ago. And this is a sculpture room, so it was made for sculptures and conceived for showing a sculpture. So that's why I decided to hang these more sculptural works, like as I said, with the modeling and those are also stitched, but you don't.
Oh
you
yeah,
don't appreciate
it's harder
it.
to see.
Yeah. There were the Greco series, plus some of them new with the gray and very abstract. And those colors that I made for the gallery in London like 4 years ago, and they were based in primary colors like red, blue, and yellow, like as you've seen also with the glass before. Or maybe I can go backwards. So I've been always like working with very
We're gonna get dizzy.
very basic ideas, let's say, like as a painter, like very trying to keep this kind, probably first impulse and feelings when I was child, and trying to protect my passion and my approach to the painting as I was when I started. So it doesn't matter where I go, but I just need an excuse to paint.
Go there.
So this was important to combine these figurative faces and invented figures with some abstract works afterwards. But because now I've been working with nude models again.
Oh yeah.
You can see and mixing with the stitching and what I have learned being abstract being.
I think they're at the end. I think they're at the end of this.
Being abstract painter for 15 years or almost 20 years. So
you've come full circle.
Yeah, a little bit.
Back to the model.
Well, this was a show at the Meadows Museum, which is I think the longest painting I did.
Yeah, that one is. Yeah.
This one. And I want to see now.
I know.
We'll go backward.
Right. Here we are. Yeah. I hope you're also noticing this kind of difference in scale as well. We've been very, very big, and then these are
tiny.
Some of your most recent works, right?
Yeah,
this was
yes,
Venice Biennale,
yeah.
And as you see, they're tiny. They remind me of icons a little bit.
Yeah.
But they invite you to get close, and.
So to me, it's important when you change media, when you change scale, when you change the idea, you have to get different results. You can use the stitching, but in a different way.
So the line in this case, if you can't tell, is actually stitching.
Yeah.
And then it looks like, are you using a stain for the color?
Yeah, also, yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that we have on top. This is my recent work. I'm working in this series since 3 years ago, and mainly based in two different colors, with the white and combined with the pure linen, and then the gray or black, which is not black and it's not gray. It's like blue.
It is. If you haven't been upstairs, I do encourage you.
In different grades and so.
Well, maybe on that note, we should open it up to questions.
Yeah.
Barbara.
I have a question for you. What do you use? How do you sew these things? Do you have a commercial machine? Do you do it? Do you do it yourself?
You mean the machine, the stitching? No, I tried, but it was impossible. So I thought the best way is to have a professional. So I have Eva, is a lady that comes,
Se llama Eva.
Eva, comes twice
Yay,
a
Eva.
week,
Yeah.
and she's very pleased to work with an artist because he
Yeah.
normally stitch or sews curtains and all that stuff. So I sit with her and I draw what I want to do, and I suggest let's do it this way, that way, and she does. I mean, I don't.
Part of your idea.
It's part of my idea. You're right. Yeah.
The last time I visited the studio, there were, these strips of canvas just laid out on the floor that could be moved around, right?
Because
as you,
it looks very.
or thrown out, or brought back in, or.
It looks very organic and very improvised process, but it's not. I mean, you have to. As I said, we on a stretch, we cut the canvas again, we add a clean piece where it was washed, and so it's getting more and more complicated. So some of them they're easier than others, but
So she's very patient, Eva.
she's very patient with me. Yeah. But she, I mean, you feel that she needs to show, It's
Yeah,
like this.
yeah, that's
she
great.
needed, she wants to. She just go in and then
Eva,
she starts to.
yeah. I love it. I think I saw one up here, and then I'll get you.
No.
Yes, please.
Because your work is so abstract in style, talk about how you know a particular piece is finished.
Well, that's something that I've been thinking lately a lot because I must confess that I'm not so worried about the finish anymore. I'm just go on with I enjoy a lot the process more than ever. Before I was struggling a lot. I was wondering many questions and to me it's finished when I arrive to the point that I think is what I wanted to do. So I can go further and maybe ruin the painting if I feel that I have some other answers, then I go farther. I'm not afraid to ruin the work, but I don't want either to overwork in
Yeah.
one painting that is done because I like the freshness of and the roughness sometimes. I'm looking for this situation that is like I would say like this result. When I break the painting, this is a very difficult process to sometimes to control the washing. I'm talking about the washing, and then you are provoking this accident, and sometimes you have to accept that you're gonna ruin the painting or erase the painting. So
he's referring to in these kind of the black areas on the painting are produced by, like I said, removing pigment, and he removes pigment sometimes with scraping or with water, with
the water, with
power
the water
washer.
power, yeah.
So there's this kind of very controlled chaos aspect, I would say, involved, and yeah.
Yeah, this is a very important.
Taking a power
aspect.
wash to her painting, I mean, again, makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
But
what remains,
you're the only one who can do it. So
I know,
yeah.
but what remains forever.
Yeah, that's right.
That's after
right.
that,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you want to get through. You want to break the layer, the painting itself. So it's a weird relation because you are destroying by creating. So, but yeah, as I said, it's an important process. I don't want to be a very processual painter, but every time that I try to escape, more and more it's
I hate
very
to
much.
tell
very,
ya.
it's very much into the process, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I saw another question here, and then yeah.
Yeah. You.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes,
Sorry.
So I'm curious, when you paint, are you aware of like what's bringing that painting to life? Meaning, like, you ever paint something and then you think, oh, that's connected to this that happened in my life, or to that? Do you ever make any kind of connection, or when you switch from one style to the other, are you like aware of what the painting is, what it means to you, what it's trying to say, or it's more of like just this is what it is? Does that make sense?
Well, I reflect a lot in front of the painting. Maybe it doesn't look like that. I try to reflect because I do it for myself, and most of the time I I got like this kind of deja vu or feelings that come from not necessarily from abstract works, from other, but I think it's because the process or the movement of the hand or your eyes is a continuum
yeah.
repetition. So
Very meditative, no? I mean,
yeah, it's like a loop. So
yeah.
so what you're doing in the studio is to provoke the canvas and provoke yourself to not being afraid to go farther and push the limits. So yeah, and if you got like a concept behind or an idea, it's better. I don't believe in painting in a way that you have a formula and you repeat and repeat and repeat, because I try to get visually nice, but it's not either my motivation, like to create like a nice product or a nice
It's not
image.
Yeah, too thin.
Yeah.
No? Please.
So tell us about the dye you use, and the stitching on that one upstairs looks really thick. What are you using for the stitching?
The cotton, you mean?
No, the hilo.
El hilo
Yeah.
cotton. It's a synthetic cotton. It's a commercial brand called Tenara. It's worldwide known, and it's made for these outside.
We were talking about this earlier. Like those umbrellas that go
Yeah.
outside on the patio.
Yeah, because they are strong to support the water, the oil, so they last forever, and it's transparent, which is great and it never gets painted. I mean, if you paint with oil or cover with, but with the dye that I use is water based and it's very thin, so there is no texture, which I like very much because. Yeah, you're applying just a very, very thin line, and that's it.
Dyeing the canvas.
Yeah.
Some of the canvas is black first.
No,
Oh.
the canvas is linen color, so I
In
dye
this
from the
case,
front,
yeah.
and if I want to have it darker than like the one on top,
Right.
I dye from the back, so it's painted both sides, which is
Which is also
which is a
fascinating.
crazy
Yeah.
idea.
It
Like
is-
it's very
it is crazy.
sculptural as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is.
It's very three-dimensional.
Right.
Well, bi-dimensional at least.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, three-dimensional.
Please.
I'd like him to introduce his wife.
Ah, yeah.
Sitting here and traveling with you.
Yeah, well, Nuria has been with me. That's a weird question.
Before you came back. So we know all of your secrets.
Yeah, well,
And you have 2 children and you left at home.
yeah, we left them at home. We had to do it, we have to come here and defend our thing.
You're glad you did.
But yeah, we are together since we were teens, so yeah, and we have 2 kids, and she has been supporting me since that time. It was never easy, but because so much traveling and still, but at least he gave me the chance to spend my time in the studio, which is great, So, what
We
could I
bought
say?
cowboy boots for their daughter today, so
Yeah.
they're good to go. They're good to go.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one last question,
Yeah.
please.
I'm interested in knowing what your inspiration is when you base a canvas. Do you create based on what you're feeling at the time, or is it an inspiration based on memory?
Well, it's a good question because my work is not so narrative. As you see, I'm not the best storyteller. It's like so that's possibly why it's very much based into the process or into a very pictorial ideas. So I just go on with concepts and I evolve this, and I jump to a next body of work because I started with something. So there is nothing like a real I wrote a book and then got touched by. I tried to create my own poetic, let's say. But it's a good question because sometimes I feel like I should be inspired by this writer or this film but I appreciate everything. I enjoy very much, but I'm very much into my thing. Sometimes maybe too much. So I don't know.
It's all still
I
in
think
there.
it comes. I mean, it's in there. It's somewhere there. I mean,
Exactly.
But maybe I'm not able to recognize. I listen to a lot of music and I do this, I do that, but I'm not based in this in others' impulse. So I follow my own one. I try to get into my own.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Well, Secundino, thank you.
Last question.
You want one more?
Yeah.
Go for it.
You know, that right there, the light in that collage of photograph, art, space, and whatever.
Oh, the studio?
Yeah, the studio. I then go and look at all of these, so many of these installations in galleries, and I sense, by the nature of some architectural or some of these paintings, when they're installed in a gallery, not just kind of a kit of parts that also kind of create space. Symmetries, the strength
But what's the question then?
sorry, I rambled.
It's okay.
No.
I'm just saying the strength of these gallery shots.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Symmetry.
Sure.
And
Okay.
So you get a sense of the painting in space.
Yeah. I'm not so keen to do these things, but in this case, particularly in this show in Sweden, I wanted to break the idea of a very nice white cube gallery. So I decided to bring my crappy studio somehow. And yeah.
It's very neat, Secundino.
And it was great. It was great because this.
You cleaned it before the
You
photo.
see, this is the front desk, and that is my studio.
Right.
So you can imagine how the gallery is done. It's beautiful. It's very nice. Nothing against.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see because there is a big window here in the street, and then people were imagine to walk every day and to see like a white wall with an art piece, and then suddenly,
Right, and
then
they-
suddenly people were stopping and looking at the window like, what's that? So I think it was nice to just to change the perception and the way to show the work. So
It sounds like you think very carefully about the installation of your work as well.
I mean, you can see this is an art fair. This is Basel, Unlimited, with these huge pieces, but always planning the shows and very much in advance, and everything is,
So you're a curator too.
Also, yeah. Sure. Okay.
Well, I think on that note, please join me in thanking Secundino.
Yeah, thank you very much.